Hello, Facebook. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. I hope everyone's having a great day. I had promised you guys yesterday that I was going to do this video, but it didn't happen because my youngest son was home with me all day, and so it was a little crazy. They both are napping now, so I wanted to come to you guys and talk about my project Thrive. I am kicking off a 30-day video series here on my Facebook channel and on my YouTube channel, where I'm going to be talking about how I'm working on healing myself with the diagnosis of Hashimoto's that I had, that I got back in June. And I kind of have been doing like a little bit of pre-video stuff and sharing some things with you guys this past few weeks. But today kicks off the 30-day journey. So I'm going to be trying to do daily videos either here on Facebook Live or on my YouTube channel. So make sure if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you go ahead and do that. It's Ashley Beeman Fit and Fabulous Fitness. I will post a link below so that you guys can check it out. But I've been getting a lot of questions about my diagnosis and how did I get to the point where I decided that I wanted to get tested, what kind of symptoms was I having, and just different things like that. So I wanted to come to you guys today and kind of share my story, or like the journey of where I got to actually getting this diagnosis, so you guys can have a better idea. And if anybody out there is going through the same thing, that maybe they could bring this up to their doctor too, and just be able to get the same test done, just to, you know, be sure. Because I know that a lot of people struggle out there. And there are answers. For the longest time, I never thought there were any answers, and I thought I was just going to have to struggle the rest of my life. So let's fast forward back to about 5 years ago when I had my first son. After he was born, a lot of you know my story. At that time, I was kind of just in a weird place in my life, and I thought I was supposed to be so happy after having this baby, but I ended up with all of this weight that I gained, and I never really had been overweight in my life. So it was a bit of a shocker, and I really had a lot of self-confidence issues at that time. So I was having trouble losing the weight, and I actually went to the doctor and had a blood panel done just to see my hormones and how everything was going. And it ended up that my thyroid was underactive. I don't know at that time if he tested for my antibodies or not. I probably could find those test results and see, but he sent me to an endocrinologist, and I saw her for a couple months, and my levels weren't getting any better, and she wanted to put me on meds. But I just, at that time in my life, I really didn't know much about it, and I didn't know much about health and fitness, really, you know, a little bit here and there. But I was like, no, I can figure it out, and I'll do it. And I ended up going on a low carb diet, and I lost all of my baby weight. I jumped in with coaching. I started drinking Shakeology, and I did Turbo Fire, which is one of our workout programs from the beginning, and I was feeling amazing. I pretty much lost everything, and I decided that at that time that I wanted to go back to the doctor and see where my levels were at. So I went back to my primary care doctor. I never went back and saw the endocrinologist. And he told me that, you know, he took my blood and the results came back, and he said that everything was fine. All of my levels were good. So I just kind of went on with my life. I got pregnant again with my second son. I had him. I lost all the weight from him using T25, 21-day fix, and Shakeology. And then I started training for a half marathon. And throughout most of my journey, I really was sticking to kind of a low carb style of eating until I was introduced to the 21-day fix, and then added some carbs back into my life. And then I started training for my half marathon. And when I did that, I ended up adding a lot more carbs into my life because I needed it to run, or at least I thought I needed it to run. And after the half marathon training was over and I ran the marathon, I really didn't change the way I was eating, which was kind of a mistake because obviously I wasn't doing as much exercise as I was before. And I started gaining weight right away, and then I kind of had like a meltdown. I mean, it was to the point where I was tired all the time. I couldn't focus on anything. I was having brain fog. My hair was starting to fall out. There was just so many symptoms that I look back now that I was having that I didn't realize I was having during that time. I just didn't feel good all around, and I just remember sitting here crying to my husband, like, I don't know what's going on, and him just kind of probably thinking that I was crazy because of all of these symptoms and things that I had going on. So I finally decided to go into the doctor, and this was a new doctor since those blood tests had been done. And she told me, first thing she did was pull out a form and had me do it was kind of like a test or a questionnaire about just like my focus and things like that. And eventually she came out and said that I had ADD, and and it kind of made sense the way things were going. Like I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't get anything done in the house. I was having a lot of anxiety, even though I had worked through that for a while. Prior to that, like once I became a coach, that was really helping. But I was just like, it was just like a tailspin. So she said I had ADD. She did not do any blood tests. She didn't do anything like that. And so we went, and she started to treat me for that. I started to feel a ton better. I got in the best shape of my life. And that I did good, with her treatment for about, I would say 8 months. I would say 6 to 8 months. And I was feeling amazing, and I just felt like I had my life back. I didn't have any of those symptoms that I was having before. And then last summer around this time is when things kind of started to go back downhill. I started to feel tired again. I started to put on more and more weight. And I really just didn't understand like what was happening. And I was so frustrated, especially because, part of my business is staying in shape. Part of my business is, watching out for my health. And I really, at that time, blamed myself for all of this, which just caused more anxiety. It caused more stress. It caused me to not be able to, be present when I was, with my family. It was just like, I was having this meltdown that I had before, but it turned into like an 8-month meltdown. And I just could not figure out what was going on. So at the beginning of this year, I really decided to dive into personal development. And really, I've done personal development, since the 5 years I have been a coach, but I really started to focus on working on myself, on my relationship with my body, working on my self-acceptance of the way my body looked and things like that. But I was really struggling with that 10 pounds. It kept coming on and off, on and off. And it really was just a really bad cycle of just restricting for a while, and then getting to the point where I couldn't restrict my food anymore. And then I would just binge out for 2 weeks, and then the cycle would start over again. And I was tired of doing that, and I knew I had to stop, but I just felt like something was wrong with me. Like I kept blaming myself for it. So I knew what I had to do. Thank God for coaching, because if I wasn't a coach, I probably wouldn't have gone into personal development as much as I did, but I knew what I needed to do. So first things first, I dove into personal development. I started working on myself, and then I started to think about the foods I was eating and my diet. And I had been introduced to the Bulletproof diet, and I started reading that book. And I started thinking back to when I felt my best. And when I felt my best was when I was doing a pretty much, it's a low carb, high fat, moderate protein type of diet. And I remember I always had energy. I always felt full. And that just seemed to be the way my body felt the best. So I started doing some research on keto, and I read a few books. I came across a girl named Leanne Vogel, who wrote the book Fat Fueled and the Keto Beginnings. And I watched all of her YouTubes, and I jumped in and I started doing keto right away. And that felt amazing. I started feeling better again. I started getting my energy back and things. But it just quite wasn't there. I was still struggling with that weight. It kept going back and forth, back and forth. And right about this time is when I decided that I needed to just do a complete reset. And if any of you guys follow me on YouTube, you watched my hitting the reset button with the 21-day ultimate reset. And that experience was good in many ways, but it didn't make me feel the way I wanted to feel. And I remember we had gone to a family reunion in Utah, and one night I just couldn't sleep. Part of my symptoms are I'm tired all the time, but I have insomnia. Like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock hits and I'm wide awake. And if I fall asleep, I'm good. But if I wake up in the middle of the night, I cannot go back to sleep. So I had been reading those books, and Fat Fueled, I had been listening to that. And in part of that book, she talks about hormone issues. And so, I was like, I need to find a new doctor, because this doctor is not helping me with the way she was treating me. And at that point, I pretty much was done, but I didn't know what I was going to do as far as finding a new doctor. And I found a naturopath in my area that actually I made the appointment that night. I remember it was like 2 o'clock in the morning when we were in Utah, and I was on my phone just like scrolling through things, and I made that appointment. And I went there, and she tested me right away, and it came back that my antibodies were high, my thyroid was underacting, I had low iodine and low vitamin D. So with all of that said, when I got that diagnosis, I was actually really happy because I could find a path to healing. And, you know, I wasn't labeled as, you know, I'm never going to be able to focus on things or do things or have energy like, you know, I would because I was labeled with the ADD. So I think it's important, and I want to share my story because I want anybody that feels that way to make sure that you get a blood test done. Make sure that you don't just jump on some type of medication and you know, have this downward spiral like I did. You really want to make sure you can find a doctor or, you know, somebody that'll listen to you and take the time to go through all of your symptoms and figure out what's going on. I'm thankful that I had coaching because, like I said, I don't think if I wouldn't have been a coach and I hadn't worked on myself for that long, I would have struggled a lot longer before I would have got that diagnosis and was able to speak up for myself and, you know, get that, you know, pretty much find somebody that would listen to me and speak up. So, you know, a few things that helped me, like those 2 books I talked about, The Keto Beginnings and Fat Fueled. I'll put a link to those below in the comment section if anybody wants to check those out. They're amazing books. So right now what I'm doing is I am following a fat fueled type of nutrition, which is a higher fat, lower carb, moderate protein. It's not necessarily keto all the way, but it's pretty close to it. I do have a few more carbs in the evening before I go to sleep, which actually helps me sleep better. And then just following a plan with my doctor, trying out some different things, which I'm going to be sharing with you guys throughout this journey. And then she's going to retest my levels in August to see where they're at. But I am just, like I said, on this journey of finding a way to thrive with this, you know, with Hashimoto's. And I don't want it to be a limit on me. And so I want to just share that journey with you guys. I know it will connect with some people. And if you are dealing with any like underacting thyroid, or you have Hashimoto's or any other autoimmune disease, I do have a free group that's put together. It's called Project Thrive. I'll put the link to that group below. You can add yourself in there, and it's just a support group for people that are trying to you know, thrive with having these diseases and things, and not let this bring our life down. Because I know that there is an answer, and I know that there is a way to live your life still feeling amazing. I mean, just in, I think it's been 5 weeks or so, I feel so much better. I have been able to reduce the stress in my life, and I just am feeling a ton better. You know, I'm working again back on that kind of weight loss track because since last summer I gained about 12 pounds. But since then, I've been able to drop, I think, about 3 or 4 pounds down as of now. But it's going to be a slow journey, and I had to let my body like refeed and refuel itself to be able to start healing. So just a lot of different things going on in my life. I appreciate you guys for listening to this. If you've listened to it all the way through, I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you guys have any questions or anything that you would want me to answer in the next 30 days, please send them to me in a private message. You can drop the questions below, and I'll definitely be doing like question and answers for anybody that wants to ask me any questions. And it doesn't have to be about Hashimoto's. It could be about anything. It could be about my life. Whatever you want to know, ask me questions, and I will do a live question and answer sometime soon. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. If this video will help anybody that you know, please share it with them. Make sure you like and subscribe to my page so you know when I'm going live. I kind of plan on doing during the week, definitely around 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you are able to jump on and see the videos live, I really, truly appreciate that. If not, they will be left on this page for you. So again, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and thank you for listening. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.